Hey, welcome to We Learn Wednesday, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get an email every time I upload. That'd be great. And tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to work through the very beginning stages of a painting, so you can see what my method is for establishing that start and before getting too far into the painting. So I'll just share with you a few of the steps that I take, and I'll be obviously working from a photograph, and which I don't do a lot of, but I'm going to do that tonight for sure. So I will try and show that to you so you can get a feel for what it is that I'm trying to do. All right, so I'll get set up and we'll get rolling here. All right, so I'll show you the photo that I'm working from. I'll kind of give you a close-up of it. You can't really see it in this, probably in my phone very well, but the first thing I do is I do a very light sketch, and I try and use a color. You can see I'm painting on sort of a white background on just a panel here, but I try and use some color that's like in the painting, and if you don't want to be sketching with something really dark in a light area where you're going to be painting, so you want to kind of stick with a gray. So I'll just go after some cat orange and some blue here, and just come up with a kind of a gray color. Maybe shift it a little bit to the blue side. So when I'm first looking at the scene and thinking about how I'm going to approach the painting, I'm trying to break the canvas into thirds, and you probably heard me talk about that on my last video. So this sort of breaks it into thirds, and I like the center of interest to sort of rest on and around kind of one of these locations here, and slightly toward the middle. And we don't want to put the thing that our center of interest right smack in the middle. It just makes for a very uninteresting painting. So so I'm gonna pick these trees that are off to this side over here. They sort of break above the skyline, and I'm gonna bring this tree line. There's gonna be a tree line here. It's pretty consistent across, but we'll put some breaks in it. And then down here is the kind of the grass and things and bushes in the foreground, and then we've got kind of this masked tree over here, and you can see I'm just lightly sketching the shape of it, nothing too major, and then it comes down into here like so. And then these trees that are resting kind of right in this area, they create a shape sort of like that. Those are really going to kind of be my center of interest, and there'll be all these verticals in here to those. This one's a little bit higher maybe. So it's just not a detailed sketch by any means, just basically I'll pick up this little pine over here, and while I'm showing you that, you don't want to get too close to an edge with a tree unless it's running completely off the edge. So either I'm going to paint it there, or I'm going to actually move it over slightly so that it actually lives maybe over here, so it's completely in view but not too close to the edge, so that the edge jumps up against it there. And I'll try and keep this a little bit simple, and that's basically all I need to sketch in to begin the painting. So in this particular case, I'm going to start with the sky. So get some of these colors out of here, because they're going to bleed through pretty good. So and I'm going to actually use the technique that I've learned recently from Richard for this. So I'm going to take like a number 6, and I'm just going to go with titanium white. I'm just going to put that right on there. And I tend to paint my sky very horizontal, so at least to begin with. So I'm going to do that here. I'll just get these strokes in there as sort of horizontal. And they kind of come down into here. Okay, so we'll start with that, and then I'll come back. I'll just hang on to the number 6. Now this I try and typically work from back to front. So once I get this sky a little bit established, then I'm going to go in and work on this distant tree line, and it's a sort of a grayish green color, and I'm going to actually use some vermilion because of the gray green that it makes compared to the other one, and I'm going to use some cerulean. And that's a much cooler gray than if I go with the cad orange and the ultramarine blue. So, and when I'm working these distant tree lines, I just let this this is very thin, almost washy paint, and I just do that in a vertical fashion. And again, I'm kind of getting this just laid in here pretty quick. There's and that's pretty warm, so I'm going to blue that up some. I don't really try and paint around any of this stuff. I can sort of remember where I was at the time, so okay. And then the foreground is actually fairly dark, some dark greens. So in this case, I'm going to use a little bit of yeah, that green. It's actually sap green. I'm going to use a little bit of sap green, and I'm going to just take a touch of alizarin crimson and put that in there, and then I'll just kind of, and I do the same thing here. I did these sort of in the direction these trees are going. I sort of did the sky in a horizontal fashion, and then most of these bushes and things that are growing in here are also kind of coming up in a vertical plane. So I'm going to just do the same with those, and you can see I'm a scrubber, so you know, some people are a lot more careful than I am. I'm just happen to not be one of those people, and I just kind of prefer for these early stages just to scrub it in there. So This particular sap green is like really transparent, so let's put a little more red in that for now. I'm just like hitting that. I'm not used to painting this small on this particular easel, so and then I'll come back and I'll take a little bit of cobalt violet, and I'm going to actually mix the vermilion in that and a little bit of viridian, and that's going to give me sort of a really deep purple color that I'm going to use for the shadows in the foreground. And on my photo you can see that some of these bushes and things that are there have have some really deep colors right in the front. So alright, that's driving me a little bit crazy, so I'm going to fix that real quick. I'm going to find something to put underneath that. And I'm just going to get some areas of this that are actually really dark, so alright. Alright, so there's a secondary grouping of, I'm just going to kind of take a little bit of this out of here, and you can see a kind of a secondary group of bushes and things that are before you get to the tree line that sort of live back in here. So I'll scrape some of that out and just reveal a little bit of it there. And that's going to be again sort of the sap green. We're going to put some blue in that this time, and then we'll take a little bit of the and I want this to be, put a little vermilion in that, and then I took some cerulean blue and put it in there, and that's going to blue this this green down a lot, and I might even go just a touch further and then just lighten the value just a touch, and then we'll put some of this in here. So I'm playing a warm, high contrasted forward area against a cooler, lower contrast area in the distance here. So these bushes back here can just sort of, they don't have as much texture to them because they're so far back there. And alright. And then we'll go in and we'll actually maybe use some of this violet mixture that we had before, and I'm just going to touch a little bit of the viridian in with that, and then I'm going to warm it up just a little bit with just a hint of vermilion, and then I'm just going to come back here and drop some of that in here, just because that was quite warm and I need to push that back a little bit further because it was sort of coming forward rather than receding, so I'll just do that. By the way, this is an evergreen, rosemary evergreen long flat, and she sent me some of these last time I ordered, and if you haven't tried these evergreens. They're really nice, and I'm just starting to get used to them and bringing them into my landscape painting, because they do some really neat things, like the way that just kind of feathered out when I just pulled that color up into the white. It's a lot softer than the bristle, so so it's easier to do some of that pulling and pushing with. So just a little plug for Rosemary there. Not a paid endorsement, just an endorsement. Okay. And now, the next step would be to get a green for these trees. And again, I'm going to start with sap green. I'm just going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson into that, and that's going to darken it up, because I'm going to be kind of above the tree line here. So I'm just going to come in and just lay these shapes in. And then I'll come over here, and these are just kind of scattered in here. And again, I'm laying the brush on its side, and I'm just kind of pulling and pushing with it. And when I paint pine trees that are that sort of have like a Michigan evergreen type, I tend to push them this way in the direction that the tree is growing, so just to get the big shape. And that was the point of this whole exercise tonight, like I mentioned in my video yesterday, was I really just wanted you to see the process of laying in the big shapes at the start of a painting. So and that's how I do it. So, and then the next thing would be to just go in and do some things in this sky. And I'm going to look for a little cleaner brush, and I'm going to take some cerulean. I'm going to add just a touch of alizarin to it. Which is going to give me sort of a purple, and then I'm actually going to take some Indian yellow, and then I'll see what that looks like here with I'm going to blue that, and then I'm going to show you that mixture was a total failure. So let's try that again. Okay, so I'm going to completely change what I just did. I'm actually going to start with a little cat orange, and I'm going to grab some ultramarine blue, and then I'm going to test that. That's a lot closer to what I was looking for. So that gives me a nice neutral gray, and then I'm going to blue that. And I'm going to lighten that value. And I'm just going to come in here with some, these clouds are just kind of running off at there's a bit of a bit overcast. Getting some orange in there. A little more blue in that. It's a bit overcast. The white's kind of coming through. And as we get closer to the horizon, I'll leave that very light, because I'll add some colors in that. But really, I'm just setting up values right now. So in this early stage of a painting, I'm not trying to get too fussy about, you know, the right texture and all that. So just establishing these values, and then kind of in between, I'll just come in with some. I'll grab some more cerulean. And I'll just start dropping that sort of in between here. And I'm just rolling the brush on the side and getting some blue in there. Alright, then I'm going to come in with some cerulean, and I'm going to just touch the Indian yellow. I'm going to add that in there. Then I'm going to take quite a bit of white, and that's going to give me a bit of an aqua color that I'm going to warm up just a little bit, and then I'm going to lay that down here sort of on the horizon. So try it again. Okay. Alright, so thanks for hanging out with me tonight and checking out Wednesday We Learn, and I hope you pick something up from what I did tonight. So next week I will actually pick up and go on to the next phase and show you what the middle part of the painting looks like, and then I'll show you the next week sort of in a close-up view how I like to approach finishing a painting. So hopefully these next three, well, the next two and this one will give you the next step to practice. And if I could recommend a way to practice this, it would be to take a number of small canvases like this and just do half a dozen starts where you just get to this phase where all of the big shapes are blocked in. You've made some decisions about what the values are, and some decisions about what the basic colors are, and where some of your darks are and where some of your lights are. So if you just establish some of those things, that's a start. Set it aside, pick up another one, and repeat that process and just do another start. And what you'll notice is as you go along, you'll actually get a lot faster at processing that information and getting it on the canvas a lot quicker. So thanks so much for checking out my video, and I will catch you later.